there, Andrew, C1D Paintball, another video for paintball video editing. This one, the first two have been setups. This is another setup. We've already talked about how to organize yourself. We talked about the cameras. Now we're going to talk about the mount. Very, very important. I'm going to be showing you a picture of what I currently use, which I think is the best setup. Again, all these things I talk about, it's what works for me. You got to do what works for you, but maybe you'll get some options by watching this, and will be cool. I use a couple of different kinds of mounts, and we're going to talk about the mask at first. There's different types of material. I use an aluminum mount. One's an HK mount. One is on Connor's mask that I got on Amazon. So this is a picture of my mount. We're talking about the little black thing there you can see it. The camera's slotted into it. Connor's, it's silver. You can see there where he hasn't got the camera mounted to it yet. So at least you get an idea of what it looks like before in case you don't have one of these. Now, I used to run with a little crane's neck. Now I'll show you what that looks like here. I have a nice MWR one. That one worked really well. But the thing is about that one, here's a side view of it, by the way, is the thing about that one is another view of it once more. So make sure you see the pictures. There's the picture of the camera mounted on that mount. Yes, I can see perfectly fine. I can see a bit of the camera in the middle, but honestly, I can see fine. The problem is because I've got that external shell, and why I don't use this setup anymore is because when I got to change batteries, I got to swing it out, pop it open, put the battery and swing it down again. And what you want to do, of course, is when you have your mask is flush like that, and you got the camera on top. I should have brought the camera. You want it to be flush in the same angle. You don't want it to be leaning left and right. And when you keep loosening and unloosening it, it can put a lot of pressure on the, sorry about that, knocked my mic around. When you swing it around a lot, it can really loosen that plastic on the case that comes with the camera, and they tend to fall apart fairly easy. I've got brand names, I've got knockoffs, they all tend to fall apart. But just swinging it around, changing the battery, as opposed to it just sitting on top where it's one thing out, and it's easier, it's impractical for me. Now, if I have the time, it's indoor games, we're playing outdoors, and there's a lot of time between games, I can swap those, okay, but I've even, putting it back in place where I scratch my lens and that's why I don't use that, but they work very well. And if you've got a system and you've got the time and patience to do it, that is the ideal setup in my opinion. There's another side angle of it, how it hangs over like that. But, and there's a shot in game now. This is how I run it now. Where I don't have the crane's neck, I just have it sticking out on top. Benefits for this: easy to change your battery. The only thing I can say that is a negative, the biggest negative, is it does stick out a little bit. So if you look at my head right now, even on that one, it's kind of a strange angle in the picture, but it pops up about maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches over my head. That's extra target for enemies to see. I can bump it once in a while. I don't bump it anymore because I'm used to it. But honestly, it doesn't get hit too often up there. It gets hit as much on my mask as it did up there. And if you want a lower profile, use the other way. This is the way I prefer because it is very easy to change cameras. Understand that I've also got a camera, and I'll talk about the mount on that, on my marker, looking at me, POV camera. And we got Connor's camera running. So when I'm in the field recording games, it's not just one camera, usually it's 3, so I need something a little simpler that, I don't want to rush, and like I mentioned before, I don't want to put that case back and misalign it, or heaven forbids, knock my mask. And putting stress, because remember, the mount is actually in the vents of your helmet. I don't want to wreck any of that, so that's why I do that. And I've got a lot of hours with the camera mounted different ways. Now, we're going to talk about the other main mount I use all the time for my marker. There's 2 different types. You see this one here? It's directly on my barrel, looking straight back from that angle, like on the barrel straight at me. I had that for a while. It's a good view, and you get shots like this one. Action shot. See, you get some good shots from it. Just square right in the face. You see the paint flying everywhere. On this one, it's mounted on the camera, but it's got a slight, I put a slight angle on it. Rather, it's a slight angle on the marker, but all right, here's another angle of it. Rolled over a little bit. Now, I have, what I usually run is not right on like that. It's the extended arm. I'll show you a picture of that here. So that's what it looks like, the extended arm. This way, because I shoot left, I'm in like this, the arm sticks out that way. It catches a bit of my body, and I like the way that looks. You can see this picture here, one of my favorite ones. Marker's kind of going down, and it kind of captures a cool shot there. There's another one. It's not a lens flare. That is real natural light. There's another one when I'm hit. Happens a lot. We're also going to look at, there's me and Connor from the one that's mounted right in the middle there. Works pretty well. And another side one of me and Jeff. Now, the side one, like I mentioned, this is the one I like the most. I haven't mounted it directly on my barrel looking back at me right along there in a long, long time. I have the attachment still, but I like the arm sticking out instead. Yeah, I can knock it on things sometimes, but you get used to it really quickly. That's my setup. So camera on top, sticking straight out, and on my barrel just sticking to the right so it catches the inside. You want that arm to be on the inside of your marker. So if you shoot right and you had my marker, you'd have to flip it to the other side, because otherwise you'd be taking shots of my shoulder on the other side. Now, I've done other things budget friendly to get camera mounts. When you get an action camera, a lot of times it comes with a bicycle mount for the handlebars. What you're looking at here is that bicycle mount, but there's a little plate underneath, so I effectively used it just like I used my HK aluminum mount. I was lucky enough to get a little piece of metal, a couple of screws in it, and this worked. But that mount is plastic, so it did eventually break. But it was a very good solution for a long time. That's a picture of it there. It is a little higher, this bicycle mount, than the regular one, so it even has a little bit of a higher profile, but didn't have any damages and stuff like that from it, really. You can see there that is, again, with the bicycle mount. Yeah, it's got the big twisty thing there, but it was essentially free, and it worked very well, although it did eventually break. Now, the crane. You can see in this picture, I have that bicycle mount, and I just had a couple of other swivel points that come with all the attachments when you get an action camera. And I kind of made my own crane neck like this. I've seen a lot of big YouTubers use this, but good budget thing, because like I said, if you get an action camera very often, you get all these accessories with it. I was able to do that with it, with the exception of the little metal plate and the screws to go in there to mount it. So that's a good budget thing to do. I had this mount as well. This is actually the first mount I have. It does stick out a lot on top of the helmet. I admit that. But again, budget video editing here, video setup. Little screw on the bottom of the visor. Goes through the hole, and it threads through this little piece. Usually that's used for like a tripod. You screw it on a little tripod, it sits there. But you thread that into the bolt on top, and yeah, you can mount it like that. Again, something that usually comes with cameras. Very easy to do. You just need that bolt to go in there. A little hole in the visor. Look, this is my first mass Vulcan. Great mass, by the way. I've upgraded since then, but it works really well. Now, other things I've tried. The gooseneck, what do you call this? It's a clip that you can put anywhere on you. You can put it on a backpack, like if you had the straps here on a tack vest, you can clip it on and it sits out. It's an interesting camera. I've used this. Actually, Michael had this a lot on his camera. It does bounce a lot, so not a lot of stabilization. It works all right. The piece itself cost me like $8. It works, but yeah, it's going to stay on the shelf. It's emergency purposes only for a third camera like Michael. I had one mounted on the side of my head. A lot of times you got guys with different cameras. Wolf has it, a Tacticam, not a Tacticam, but a run cam, I think it is, on the side of his helmet. Can work really well. Again, using stuff that came with my camera, I set up this side thing. Got an interesting point of view too, because when you see the camera, you can see part of my helmet. It's interesting. Weirdest one, the boom. which I recorded footage once of the boom, so it really sticks out, and it was facing towards me, so my mask was stabilized and the background bounced around me. But it puts a lot of stress on that joint on the top of your mask where the mount is. You don't want that. By the way, here's a freaky kind of thing. There's a picture of me. I've got that thing on the side of my helmet mounted in with the camera on top with the homemade stuff. Looks really, really futuristic, or really stupid, or futuristically stupid. But yeah, you need your camera mounted properly. And I've stressed many times on budget paintball, get the aluminum one. Use the proper screws, get it in there. You can get the boom if you want, but I've already mentioned that the boom in front of your camera, if you're going to switch out the battery and everything, with the camera I have the outside, the protective case on my camera. So if you don't have one, you're just running, let's say, an old GoPro, the little square ones there, then you don't have a protective case on it. So, and when it's charged, it's charged. When it's out, it's out. Having that is probably easy for you. We're talking about what is easy and what I use. So I use it mounted on top like that. I use the arm sticking out for my POV camera right back at me. Yes, there's more of me to shoot at, a little bit on top, and even my camera sticking out there can get hit. Now the field I play at, Warzone Paintball, marker hits don't count, so that won't take me out if my marker's hit. The camera's a part of the marker. Pain in the ass to clean though on that, but you know, you have decisions to make. That bicycle, the bicycle clip that I used for the top there, my budget one, you could put that on your barrel and rotate it and have kind of a 45-degree angle as well if you have barrel sticking out, some shrouds on it cover it. So you can do lots of things with it, but I've already told you what I use, why I use it. There are lots of options out there in the sense of different materials, and if you want to mount it on the top with the thing in front, on the side of your helmet, I've seen a lot of those. I saw somebody crazy try to put it on the inside of their helmet. Interesting. While there's a lot of flexibility with how you can make, what cameras you use, how you record and all that, one of the things I really would insist on, besides organizing your files, the first video in the series, is get the aluminum mount. You don't want to break the mount. You don't want the camera to fall and smash. You don't want the vents in your marker, and your mask rather, to break either. So that's why I use this. And yeah, that's it for this one. There'll be more recording tips, all kinds of stuff to come. There's only a certain amount out there I can make, but hope this helped you. Thanks a lot.